Hello all, it's Joe Weaver here. Just took a little walk out into this state park where I live here close to Raleigh, North Carolina. And wanted to share some information that I've been researching or say comprehending a little bit more here recently. And that has to do with it's called dimensional markers. And for me personally, and I know probably a lot of you too, this last 30 days have been very say challenging in a lot of different ways. You know, I've said the same thing last March pretty much, and there's been several times over this last year it's been very challenging. I guess if we're not being challenged, then of course that we're not really expanding and experiencing new things. So I guess it's all a blessing. So a little bit about these dimensional markers that I'm talking about. Our consciousness basically, when in our daily life, you know, walking down the street or driving the car down the road or sitting there talking to a person face to face, our consciousness basically, it's almost like a radar screen. It continuously is sweeping out, scanning the space, and it's picking up on things that it relates to. And there's a lot of things in this reality that, and what we're used to is that we do this automatically. Our consciousness does this automatically. And so what's been going on within the last 30 days is not only have we been going through major, say, personal transformation regarding our own personal purging and releasing, but we're also now been doing this a lot of collective say purging, which means that a lot of the programs and also the markers, time markers, or however you want to describe them, in the 3D dimensional program are being dissolved. And so when our consciousness goes out and searches and scans our environment or wherever we are, and these markers are no longer there, basically that's when it feels like it's not picking up on some things that basically keep it anchored, keeps us anchored within that dimensional space. So as these third dimensional, say, anchors or markers are continually dissolved, it means that basically we are integrating more of, say, the fourth density ways of being, the fifth ways of living, and so on. So it gives us the opportunity when for us to then integrate and tap into the 4D or 5D dimensional markers. And the reason why I think they're called dimensional markers is they're reference points for our consciousness to basically tie into, to know where in the world we are. We are integrating more of our multi-dimensional levels of consciousness, which means that we are living it. It's not a concept, it's not a belief system, it's not necessarily something that we believe to be true. We're actually physically living more of our multi-dimensional levels of being now. There's a lot of people that are, some people are experiencing what I'm describing here more than others, but that doesn't necessarily mean that anybody's losing or missing out on something. This, I will describe more about the waves of ascension and how everybody's playing a part in the waves of ascension in the next video. So going into the dimensional markers, you know, it's also related to our perception of time. As has been talked about, quite a bit over the last year or so, is that the changing of time, the perception of time, is like the Mayans said, the illusion of time, or the time, the ending of time. But it's only our perception of time that is changing, and we're relating to more of time in just a different way. So like like I have experienced, and maybe some of you have too, is our short-term memory just goes blank at times. Like I was driving down the road the other day, and I just had to really take the time to remember where in the world I was driving to. And so that's really going on right now. And the reason why that is again, these reference points, or these markers. We are relating, and we are operating in multi-dimensional levels of physical existence at the same time. So it's for us to see, the more that we try to hold on to the third dimensional markers that we are sort of we've been so used to living and making reference to, that the harder it is to really let go of them. So everything's going to move forward one way or another. So the easier we are to start connecting with your I am presence, and say, I am presence, assist me in now anchoring, or connecting with the 4D, 5D dimensional markers that are aligned with me at this time, and releasing the third dimensional markers that no longer serve me anymore. Doing things like that will assist you in really being able to have more discernment between the third, fourth, fifth dimensional markers that that everybody is, one way or another. As we move forward, we're going to be learning these ways of discerning these different levels, and so on. It's our body, along with our consciousness, as we're in our daily life, and we're scanning, we're just living, walking down the street, or sitting there in your meditation or whatever, and you're scanning, and you're just not really having a grasp on what is going on here. A lot of times what we may experience is periods of depression, or even because we're not, what we used to perceive is no longer there, and so we're actually depressed because we're holding on to the past. Or we might be having anxiety, and that's again because we're fearful, or not comfortable, or what we're perceiving is going to happen in the future. So that's where staying aligned in the present moment is really important. Taking the time to get out in nature, just to go walking, to really connect with the earth, it really assists at this time. I personally have been noticing that I've been taking a lot more time to meditate, to really stay centered, and just go within and see where I can release, these things that are holding me into these, these perceptions, or connections, energetic connections in one way or another, to the third 3D, ways of being. It's not that we are trying to separate ourselves from 3D. It's that we are releasing and being at peace with what we used to experience in 3D life, which then allows our consciousness and perceptions to open up and connect with, these 4D, 5D dimensional markers. you know, the different dimensional realities in themselves are we have discernment between the different dimensional realities through feeling, through actually physically feeling them out, to feel them and be able to have more discernment through those ways. It's not a concept or a belief. I believe this to be true over here, that the 4D is over here, or whatever. It's a matter of just feeling it out. The same thing as how you feel and you sense your own I am presence, your own levels of self. The dimensions in themselves are just like the levels of your own self. You have to feel them, you have to know them. And that's sort of what we're getting going right now. We're getting to know the 4D dimensional markers that actually that we can feel, that we can sense. And the more that we are actually tying into these 4D, 5D markers, the more that we're going to be anchored and anchoring them here on Earth in this dimensional reality. They're already here. I can't really say on Earth because they're already here. But we're sort of, let's say, anchoring them within our current perceived level of consciousness. How about that? That's a little bit better way of describing that. So, the main thing is just to allow, you know, to discover what's going on here. We're going through a not only conscious ascension, but we're also going through a collective physical ascension. And it's not necessarily the easiest thing to go through, of course. It is challenging at times, but to know that everybody signed up for this. This is something that we chose to do, to be here at this time to experience this dimensional shift. And it's through our own discovery of how this tying all these different levels together and actually experiencing and living them is basically assists the whole, not only the Earth, but out into, you know, the universe. So if you yourself have experienced some of these, what I'm describing is the change in these dimensional markers. You know, please share your comments below the video, maybe some of the things you've experienced, and to know that you're not alone when you're just totally feeling like you're in uncharted waters, that you're in a new space, because we are in a new space. As I've shared before, the words that pretty much describe it the best to me is acclimating to the new Earth. We're integrating basically the new paradigm, the new ways of living. And the 3D, say third density ways of being are dissolving away. So, hope this assists in your own path, and until next time, namaste. See y'all next time.